Okay, so you get that ping on your phone, yeah? A message, maybe WhatsApp. It's offering this incredible job, say, in Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
Free
Yeah.
visa, fancy apartment, the whole package. Sounds amazing, doesn't it?
It really does. It paints a picture of a dream life.
But then, imagine that dream just evaporates the second you land. And for, countless Indians, this isn't some abstract idea.
No, it's a harsh reality.
People are selling off family land, heirlooms, everything just to pay some agent.
Only to find themselves trapped. Not in a high-paying job, but forced into running online scams, or sometimes even worse.
It's just awful.
Yeah.
And we actually have a very short clip from someone who was rescued. Just listen to this. Rescued victim, voiceover. They confiscated my passport. If I didn't meet their daily targets for the scams, they would use electric shocks. Chilling, isn't it? Electric shocks for not scamming enough people.
It's horrific. It shows the sheer brutality involved. This isn't just about dodgy job offers. It's organized crime exploiting desperation on a massive scale.
Exactly. So in this deep dive, we're trying to go beyond the headlines. We really want to unpack the networks behind these cyber slave camps. You hear about them in places like Cambodia.
Mm-hmm. And Myanmar as well.
Right. And also look at these seemingly legit job offers in Dubai that turn into traps. And crucially, try to understand why Indians seem to be such a specific target for these criminals.
It's a complex picture. These groups are incredibly adaptive, using technology, using global migration trends, creating these really quite modern forms of exploitation. It's alarming.
Okay, let's dive into the specifics then. These scam cities, as they're sometimes called, we're talking places like Sihanoukville in Cambodia and Mayawati in Myanmar.
That's right. They often spring up in these sort of border zones or areas where maybe government control is a bit weaker.
And they started as casino compounds, apparently.
Some did, yes. Former casino areas that have been repurposed or sometimes purpose-built compounds, but they've definitely morphed into hubs for forced labor, specifically focused on online scams.
And what kind of scams are we talking about?
Oh, a whole range. Lots of crypto fraud, getting people to invest in fake coins or platforms. Romance scams, building relationships online purely to extort money.
The classic romance scams.
Exactly. And even sophisticated blackmail schemes, sometimes using information gathered through other scams. It's quite diversified.
And the conditions. Well, we heard that victim, but reports, like from the UN, paint a truly grim picture.
They do. The UN report highlighted things like 18-hour workdays being standard.
18 hours?
Yeah. And escape attempts met with extreme violence, beatings, electrocution, even reports of people being sold on to other gangs if they don't perform or try to leave. Sold like property.
And it's medieval. How are people even getting drawn into this in the first place?
Well, the recruitment is quite slick often. They use fake job ads, often for things that sound quite harmless, like data entry or customer service.
Where do these ads appear?
On common platforms, places you look for jobs or just browse online. Facebook, Telegram are mentioned frequently. They look legitimate. Oh. But then maybe you fly out thinking you've got this great job. And suddenly you're hit with these massive fake recruitment fees.
Ah, the debt trap.
Precisely. They'll say you owe them, maybe $10, $15, even $20,000. And you're stuck there until you supposedly work it off, which of course you never can.
So you're trapped from day one. And I read something about Indian middlemen being involved too, using local languages.
Yes, that's a really insidious part of it. They specifically use recruiters who speak Hindi or Tamil or other Indian languages to build trust with potential victims.
Makes sense. You'd feel safer talking to someone who speaks your language, understands your background.
Exactly. It lowers your guard. These middlemen, they're crucial cogs in the machine, often driven by their own commissions, seemingly indifferent to the lives they're destroying.
We heard an account from a worker from Hyderabad who was rescued. He said he was shown pictures of this really modern, sleek office building.
Like the bait.
But the reality, he described it as basically a prison, a guarded compound, just rows and rows of computers, people forced to scam around the clock.
That contrast is key, isn't it? The promise versus the grim reality. It highlights the sheer deception involved.
Now, it's good to hear the Indian embassy is involved in rescues. I think the figure was over 250 people brought back from Cambodia just this year.
Yes, there are definite efforts being made, which is crucial, but the challenges are immense.
What kind of challenges?
Well, for one, these scam compounds often operate with a degree of, let's say, local complicity, maybe local police turning a blind eye, or worse, it makes intervention very difficult.
Right.
And then you have the gangs themselves demanding ransom money to release people. Families back home get put under enormous pressure. It complicates rescues significantly.
A complete nightmare. Okay, let's shift focus a bit, maybe geographically. Let's talk about Dubai.
Okay.
A place most people associate with, skyscrapers, luxury, opportunity.
Absolutely. The glamorous image.
But there's this darker side, isn't there? Where Indians are also being trafficked, but maybe for different kinds of exploitation compared to the Cambodia situation.
That's right. Dubai's role as this huge international travel and labor hub. Well, it unfortunately attracts trafficking networks, too. While the large-scale scam compounds might be less visible there, we see Indians being trafficked into other things.
Like what?
Things like being used as unwitting drug mules. Forced prostitution is a significant issue, and even organized begging rings.
Drug mules. Wow. We saw an account from an undercover journalist, actually, posing as a recruit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they were told to carry perfume bottles. Just some perfume. But it turned out to be code for cocaine.
That's terrifyingly common. They prey on people's naivety or desperation. The victim might have no idea what they're actually carrying until it's too late, until they're arrested at an airport.
And facing serious charges in a foreign country.
Exactly. Far from home, no support system. It's devastating.
And you mentioned forced prostitution, often linked to fake job offers again.
Yes, similar tactics. Promises of jobs in hospitality or sometimes even modeling. Women arrive expecting a career and find themselves trapped, passports taken, forced into sex work.
And the begging rings. I read something horrific, that traffickers sometimes deliberately maim people.
There are reports suggesting that, yes, inflicting injuries or exploiting existing disabilities to make the begging more lucrative. It's utterly ruthless exploitation of vulnerability.
It shows the complete lack of humanity.
Yeah.
We saw a statistic, I think from Dubai police, that something like over 100 Indians get deported every month just for visa overstays, but often linked to these trafficking situations.
That number really highlights the scale. People are brought over, often on easily obtainable visit visas. The promised job doesn't exist or is exploitative.
Right.
Their visa expires, and they end up stuck, sometimes deported, while the traffickers often just move on to the next victim. It's a revolving door facilitated by visa loopholes.
So why Indians specifically? We see them targeted in the cyber camps in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
We see them targeted in Dubai. What makes them particularly vulnerable?
Well, it's likely a combination of factors. One significant driver is, frankly, high unemployment or underemployment in certain parts of India.
Like Kerala, Punjab, places with histories of migration.
Exactly. That creates a large pool of people actively looking for opportunities abroad, sometimes quite desperately. And that desperation can, unfortunately, make people more willing to overlook red flags or trust dubious offers.
Yeah, I can see that. If things are tough at home, an offer that sounds almost too good to be true might still feel like a risk worth taking.
Precisely. And then, specifically for places like Dubai, the visit visa issue is relevant. They're relatively easy to get compared to work visas.
So people go over hoping to find work on the ground.
Yes. Many travel on visit visas intending to convert them to employment visas once they find a job. But this period makes them vulnerable. If the job falls through or if they meet traffickers posing as employers, they're in a precarious position legally and personally.
Okay, this is all pretty heavy stuff, but really important for people to know. So for anyone listening, maybe thinking about an overseas job, what are the absolute red flags? What should make you stop and think, hang on a minute?
Number one, I'd say, is the salary. If it seems wildly inflated for the type of job in the country.
Like $5,000 a month for basic admin.
Exactly. That kind of thing. If it sounds way too good to be true, it almost certainly is. Be very skeptical of unrealistically high pay.
Okay, unrealistic salary. What else?
Any demand for significant upfront fees. Money for visas, processing, training. Legitimate employers or reputable agencies generally don't ask the job seeker to pay large sums before they even start.
Right. They usually cover those costs or it's handled differently.
Correct. Also, check for the basics. Is there a proper formal contract? Does the company have a real, verifiable website and physical address? Can you check them out independently?
So do your homework on the company itself.
Absolutely. If it feels vague, if there's no proper documentation, no online presence, those are major warning signs.
Okay, super useful. Now, what if someone listening suspects they, or maybe someone they know, is already caught up in this? Where can people turn for help?
There are avenues, thankfully. The Indian government has a portal called Madad. It's specifically for Indians abroad who need assistance, including those stranded or facing exploitation. You can register complaints there.
Mad ad. Okay, well, make sure that's clear. Any other resources?
Yes, several NGOs do fantastic work in this area. Organizations like Ajivika Bureau, for example, run helplines and offer support and guidance for trafficked or exploited migrants. Reaching out to them can be a crucial first step.
Good to know there's support out there. We also heard from an activist who made a really strong point about needing stricter penalties for the recruiters, the agents who are actually facilitating all this.
That is absolutely critical because right now, often the victims suffer immensely deportation, debt, trauma, while the agents who lured them, the middlemen,
They just disappear, find someone else.
pretty much, they often face few consequences. We need stronger laws and, crucially, better enforcement to hold these recruiters accountable and dismantle the networks from the supply side, so to speak.
Makes total sense. You have to hit the facilitators too. So wrapping this up, I guess the overriding message is just extreme caution.
Definitely. That job offer that lands in your inbox, the one promising the moon. If it feels off, if it asks for money up front, if the details are fuzzy, trust your gut. It might be a trap.
Yeah. Be skeptical, ask questions, verify everything.
And please, share this information, talk about it with friends, family. Awareness is probably our best defense. You never know, just sharing this might prevent someone from falling into one of these devastating situations.
Absolutely. It's a disturbing reality of our interconnected world, but one we need to confront. Thank you so much for breaking this down for us.
Thank you.
And for everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Maybe just think about how that basic human drive, the simple desire for a better opportunity, can be twisted and exploited so effectively on a global scale. It's something worth reflecting on.